Every 4 years, Nigerians go to the polls to elect representatives into various political offices in the country. And to ensure the success of this exercise, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) begins execution of plans in line with the Constitution using the voter register. From the age of 18, every Nigerian is eligible to vote and participate in the election of representatives to various offices in the country. Over the years, it has become obvious that many Nigerians have grown weary of the exercise.
If we are so educated and we have so much integrity, it only shows when you come out to do the needful. That's when we'll know that, yes, it's not having PhD or having a master's degree. It's coming out to do the needful for your sake and for the sake of the nation.
During the April 2011 presidential election, INEC recorded about 73.5 million registered voters, out of which 39.4 million of them voted. This figure represents some 53.7% of those registered to vote at the time. For the 2015 general elections, more than 67.4 million eligible voters were registered by INEC, but only 29.43 million votes were recorded. That was just for the 3.65% of registered voters. The 2019 general elections witnessed the highest number of registered voters. Of the 84 million registered voters, only about 34.75% actually voted. Political scientists call this syndrome voter apathy.
Looking at the number of registered voters who turn out to vote, there are lots of people who on election day just don't bother turning out to vote. Those are the target people who say are apathetic, and there might be different reasons why they decline, they refuse to vote on election day. It might be their fear of security, lack of faith in the process or in the candidates, what's colloquially we term dividends of democracy. So they might feel they have no stake, no dividends in this democracy, so they will not turn up. So lots of reasons.
When the disparity is much, for instance, you have a registered population of say 1 million, and then you have 150,000 people coming to cast the ballot to elect a governor. You would agree with me that it's not even up to half of the population that's registered. Such a state is described as having attained the level of voter apathy in the polity.
Apart from voters, there has also been a record of apathy in Nigeria's political arena. Wikipedia defines political apathy as a lack of interest towards politics. It can be classified as the indifference of an individual and a lack of interest in participating in political activities. These includes lack of interest in elections, political events, public meetings, and voting.
Let's not continue to be the problem. Let's not continue to make Nigeria the worst country on earth. Let's not continue to make Nigeria the poverty capital of the world. Let's make Nigeria blossom. Let's change the face of things for Nigeria. Because whether we like it or not, our wealth, our resources, our talents are building other communities, other nations. Let's use it to build us. Let's use it to build the human capacity we have here. Develop minds, build our economy, make Nigeria a producing company so that we can have 2 digits GDP and even more.
Political apathy can lead to low voter turnout, which can subsequently affect the democratic growth of a country. Experts say political apathy is common among young Nigerians, the poor, and minority groups.
It may be because they feel they cannot make a difference, or they don't have sufficient funds, because electioneering, especially in Nigeria, everywhere in the world, but especially in Nigeria, is particularly expensive. I take note, for example, of the cost of nomination fees by some of the political parties, millions of naira. Not too many Nigerians can afford to pay those nomination fees. Not too many people, even if they had the money, want to commit. If they had that liquid, we want to commit that much money, and I don't think too many people want to borrow money to contest. So in the absence of independent candidacy, you have to use a political party as a platform for participating. And these days, you must be sponsored as by a registered political party to be able to contest elections. So if you're not so sponsored, then you cannot contest, and you must belong to that political party. So some people feel that the parties don't represent their interests. Some people feel they don't have ideological foundations, while others feel they are the kind of motley crew of people who run the parties. They're not interested. But you cannot change the system unless you participate according to rules.
Data dating back from the 1999 elections shows a steady decline in the number of Nigerians who register to vote and those who make the effort to go out to elect their preferred candidates at the polls. Analysts are calling for a change to this attitude in the 2023 elections in order to change the narrative.
From 1999 to date, if you look at the statistics, if you check the data, there is a progressive reduction in the number of people that are voting in Nigeria. The only office that has enjoyed peculiar advantage in terms of mobilization to vote, which in itself is witnessing dwindling fortune, is the presidency of Nigeria, because it is a highly contested office. A lot of persons are interested in who become the president. Most of the noises are made over the social media, but on the day of voting, you go to polling unit, you'll be shocked. The last election in Amak, in other places, if you go check the population that voted, you come to realize that people are no longer keen about voting. It's more or less like we don't care whoever emerge.
One of the big damages that voter apathy I see that has caused in this nation is poverty. The kind of people you have in leadership will determine how your life will go. Lincoln Young said, when you have good people in leadership, you will have good governance. There's no two ways about it. It is not praying. Praying will not solve it. Yeah, praying is good. I'm a Christian. I'm a religious person too. Praying is good. Fasting is good. Wishful thinking is good. But without applying action, because action is the ultimate. He said, after doing all those things and you refuse to come out and vote, that means the problem will continue.
Comparing the number of people who actually voted in the last 3 general elections, which cost the country some 410 billion naira, figures show that Nigeria lost over 200 billion naira in unused ballots due to low voter turnout. Interactions with a cross-section of Nigerians on the streets reveal a lack of interest in the electoral and political process. How much is this likely to affect voter turnout in the years ahead?
Lumina, did you vote during the last election?
No, I didn't.
Why didn't you vote?
It's of no use because it doesn't matter. They won't even use my vote. It doesn't count.
Okay, do you have a PVC?
No, I don't.
Why?
I don't need it because I won't use it.
The way Nigeria is right now is not really, things are just somehow. So basically we just don't know exactly what to do, you know. So even I feel stressing myself going to vote and then it doesn't count. So there's no point in me going to vote, you get. So that's why I didn't go for voting.
Okay, I didn't vote in 2019 because I was doing my NYSC. So I was serving in Zamfara and I registered in Osun State, so I couldn't vote. I couldn't travel to Osun State to go and vote.
But previously, have you been voting?
Yes, I voted in 2015.
I voted because it's necessary. Although despite the corruption and the way the country is, the economic and all of that, where vote doesn't count, even before the election, at times they've already decided who will sit there. But we still have our choice to vote, decide who we really want. So we'll just keep trying to make things right, despite the corruption, but we still trust God that the country will be better.
I plan to vote if our vote will count. You know, Nigeria pattern now. We don't need this kind of. We are tired of those stuff. You know, we need the change. That's why I'm still, because I have an NGO that I'm working with and I'm the PRO. So I'm still telling my people to go and have their PVC and make sure that they vote so that we will see a new Nigeria.
Why do you think it's important for you to vote?
It is important because when you vote, you will be the one to choose your leader. And when choosing that, you need to be wise also. So the most important thing is for you to go and choose who you think that is the best person to lead you. I would say that recently, I feel like my votes have started counting. Because I know when the vote doesn't count, as at 2003, 1999, it doesn't count. Because I know the things that played out during those days.
So, Ma, did you vote during the last election?
Yes, I did.
Why did you vote?
I wanted the candidate of my choice to be elected.
So, has he been elected? Did he win the election?
No, he didn't.
Okay, so are you planning to vote this?
By the grace of God, I'm not giving up. I pray God will fix this country and give us good leaders.
I don't know what kind of choices they will provide for us, because if I say what I want, they will not provide it. Because everybody wants to go to politics for their own pocket, not minding of the way the people, the environment are in and stuff like that. So the kind of changes I want to see is industrialization, yeah, and us producing our own things. We have manufacturers and we have the equipment to get our own goods and stuff like that. And secondly, I'll speak about security. Security. We need security. We need our armed forcemen to secure the country for us. Thirdly, electricity.
The Independent National Electoral Commission's continuous voter registration continued across the country in June 2021. The exercise is expected to increase the number of registered voters, which could in turn increase the number of voters in future elections. Since INEC is targeting not less than 120 million voters for the 2023 general elections, how can political parties and civil society groups help realize this dream?
And when people know that if we vote, our schools will be modernized, security will be enhanced, employment will be generated, people will earn more income, I think there will be no incentive for violence. A lot of people will go out there and vote for the most competitive candidate. But when there is nothing at stake, the stake will not be too high for people to stake anything. So it will be, how much can you pay me? So you find parties purchasing votes, 200 naira in the morning, 500 naira in the afternoon, 1,000 naira in the evening. So at the end of it all, by the time they count the votes, you'll be disappointed. And then you look at the population of registered voters, you look at the population of those that voted, you cringe to bone marrow. So a lot needs to be done. And the only way we can convince the people is to assure them that their vote will count, and that we're going to provide them with security and level playing ground for them to cast their ballot for anybody they want to cast their ballot for, and that if they cast their ballot, the outcome will reflect what their selections are.
And the irony of it all is that out of 80, 90, 94, 90, we're going to 90 million registered voters, if only 9,000 turn out to vote, those people will elect, as long as they meet other conditions, those people will elect the president, the governors, the representatives of the people in the states and national assemblies. And sadly, we've had elections in this country where as low as 2% of the total number of registered voters come out to vote. So it's not a true democracy, where only, because democracy is about government before the people, by the people. So where only a tiny proportion of the people come out to exercise that franchise. The others are bound by it, by the way, but where only 2%, 2 out of 100 people now choose a representative. It's not good.
Experts say for an election to be successful and democratic, voters must understand their rights and responsibilities and must be sufficiently knowledgeable and well-informed to cast ballots that are legally valid while participating meaningfully in the voting process.
If our vote is not important, or if our vote does not count, you think people will be running around giving people 500 and 1,000 and Gary and Rapper? No, they won't be doing that, because they are looking for a certain vote, you know, that they can manipulate. Because if nobody comes at all, then we'll be saying, okay, well, how did you get there? Because nobody voted you in. So let's come out in mass. Hold your PVC, because your PVC is your power, is your life, is your destiny. That is what makes you a Nigerian. That's what would drive poverty away. That is what would drive insecurity away. That's what would make our economy, what would blossom, what we want it to be.
We should have known by now that selling our vote has never done us any good. It has landed us in more poverty and misery. So you cannot be doing something over and over again and you are expecting a different result while using the same formula, the same method. That is insanity. So if we've sold our votes before and we are not developing, and we saw states that refuse to sell their votes and they change their governors at will and those states are progressing. So why don't we emulate those states that are progressing? The problem of voter apathy, the problem of underperformance, the problem of corruption in Nigeria should not be even blamed on the leadership. It should be blamed on the followership, because we select those people. Even if we don't vote them, we are the people that are recruited to rig election for those people. And we are quiet simply because we are paid. And then you now use the same money that was given to you to rig election to buy automobile that you cannot drive on the same road because the person has not constructed the road for you to drive the automobile. So what have you done? And then you sell people's vote. And then the person comes and refuses to do anything about employment or unemployment. And then the youth pick up arms, just the way we are doing now, to kidnap for ransom. And the youth start kidnapping for ransom. You can't even drive the car you've bought with that money to your village.
Apart from the nonchalant attitude of some Nigerians to the political process, political gurus opine that there are other factors responsible for the growing apathy in Nigeria.
Also, there is a fear of insecurity in the land, because many people want to come and vote for the candidate of their choice, but once they look at the insecurity going around, the kidnapping, the thuggery in the electoral process, they will now have this second thinking, either to go out to vote or not to vote. But however, the majority of Nigerians do come out to vote because it's a civic responsibility and it's once in every 4 years. So Nigeria must come out to vote, and if there's an improved security around the polling units.
A lot of persons in the course of defending their mandate were killed in this country during elections. No person has been held responsible for those killings, and nobody has been punished for those killings. Though the government has been trying to see that thuggery and electoral violence is really nipping the bud. But again, you find out that these killings do occur in election day, thuggery do occur, and at the end of it all, you hear that arrests have been made, you won't hear how many persons have been convicted. So Nigerians have come to the conclusion that there was never going to be a time that there will be peaceful election in Nigeria. So I'd rather stay in my house.
There used to be about 120,000 odd polling units in the country. I don't think violence affected 10% or even 5%. So statistically, the chances of your encountering violence is not as high. But it's there. And this is where we appeal to the security agencies to be alive to their responsibilities, appeal to the political parties, appeal to the youths who are used as thugs and who are used for this violence and malpractices. Look, it's your future. You are mortgaging your future. You are mortgaging lots of things when you engage in these things, or when you encourage these things, or when you don't discourage them. It will come back to haunt you. It will come back to bite any society that takes it so lackadaisically. So yes, security agencies have a role to play. The youths have a role to play. The political parties, the contestants all have a role to play. That we must checkmate all these attempts to subvert the will of the people. And they only want to use violence where they feel they cannot get their way. The only way in a democracy to get your way is to win the votes. So where they know or feel they cannot do that, then they try other means, malpractices, they try violence. And violence is encouraged. But I would like to think that we're getting better. It's not as violent as it used to be. And I certainly hope, going into the electoral season now, that the security agencies will deploy technology, will deploy intelligence, will deploy other means, and not just brute force. Brute force is absolutely necessary. The coercive force is necessary. Where you cannot reason with these people, they keep on appealing to them. But when they know the impunity will not avail them this time around, then I think a lot of people will be a lot more careful.
Since elected public office holders just like other members of the society adopt their values and beliefs from that same society, it should not be too difficult for voters to pick out the best candidates for public service during elections. Experts say it works better when more people participate in choosing these political leaders who will serve the public's interests and promote good governance in the country.
One of the yardsticks for which a credibility of election is judged is the number of people who have come out to vote. You know, if you have not encouraged people enough to come out to vote, then your credibility and because that affects the credibility, it affects the legitimacy and outcome of the electoral process. And it's almost as if not coming out to vote, it's almost a no vote for democracy. It's almost a no vote for participation. Inclusivity and participation are essential hallmarks of democracy. So it's important that everybody does their own bit, not only to come out to vote, but also to mobilize others, friends, social groupings and old schoolmates and stuff like that. It's not good enough to start commenting. It's good to comment about shortcomings. It's good to comment about the good things that people have done or the bad things that could have done better. That's where social media and the mainstream media comes in. But without taking steps to rectify where there are shortcomings or to promote good governance or to encourage those who are doing well, without taking those steps, what moral right do you have to complain on social media or to write opinions or to write letters?
While it has been established that there are many issues at the heart of the apathy conversation in Nigeria, the consensus is that the situation will not get better if more than half of the people consistently refuse to participate in the selection and election of their leaders and decision makers. Like the French politician Marine Le Pen said during a campaign for the French presidency, if the people vote, the people gain.
Life on its own is a challenge. It's just like going to school, you want to have an A and you do nothing about it. And you say your teacher is just failing you. Do something about it. Research, do your subject, do your homework, be in class, and you will have an A, you know. So yes, and the root causes are maybe insecurity. You know, nobody wants to die. You go to a polling unit to go and cast your vote and you see people fighting and shooting and causing mayhems and all that. You know, that's enough for people to like, oh, I'm not going to come out. And a lot of politicians have come out to tell us they would do this, they would do that, and election in, election out, 4 years in, 4 years out, is depreciation, is deterioration in the human lives, in the economy. That's only what we see, you know. And those are one of those reasons that's making people to think, you know, why am I coming out? You know, but again, it's a challenge. So this is actually a time for us to come out and say, I will vote in mass, I will do my part, get my PVC, get into a political party, most importantly, get my PVC and come out in mass to vote.
In the more than 20 years of Nigeria's return to democratic government, the country has witnessed many challenges, both politically and economically. While there is optimism that the hurdles ahead will not be insurmountable, citizens' participation in governance and the guarantee of credible electoral procedures have been identified as some of the first steps towards a sustainable democracy with credible institutions.
Well, with every right, there's a correlative responsibility, a correlative duty. And in a democracy, the right to vote is a fundamental right. And along with it is that the responsibility to vote. You have a right to vote, and you can choose not to exercise that right or not to exercise that right. But when you choose not to exercise that right, you are making a choice. And in a sense, you're choosing by not coming out to vote, you may be choosing the wrong person, because obviously if you don't make a choice, then other people's choice will now become elected representative of the people. So without realizing it, that's why we say acts of omission, commission or omission. Deciding not to vote is an act of omission, and it has its own consequences. First of all, I think morally, you lose the moral right to complain if somebody that's not to your liking now becomes president. But if you voted and the person does not win the election, at least you have the moral high ground to say, look, I did not vote for this man or this woman.
Not going to vote, arguing about vote, that will lead to violence, we will not be able to survive it as a country. So the first thing you gain by going out there to vote is deciding those that will represent your interest in the next 4 years, as the case may be. So if you go out there to vote the wrong persons, you are only voting those that will assist to mismanage our common destiny, including the destiny of your children. So it is incumbent upon us to go out there to vote for the right persons so that the kind of change we want to see, we will see them.